was the final score?
Let's go!
Chair.
Welcome to Trojans Live, the exclusive USC Trojans coaches show.
Snap back to Caleb. He'll run it himself to the 10. Down to the 5. He's going to go. Touchdown!
With behind-the-scenes insights and breaking news from the student athletes who play for the Cardinal and Gold.
Ellis comes to the right wing 4 seconds to go. Boogie at the free throw line for the win. He buries it. Boogie Ellis set the buzzer.
Trojans Live is presented by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast. Now, live from Los Angeles, here are your hosts, Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, and Max Brown.
Hello and welcome to Trojans Live, presented by Monster Energy on AM 790 KBC and across the USC Trojans Media Network. I am Jordan Moore, the Monster Energy fueled Sean Cody next to me. You don't have to hide it. It's a sponsored
The
drink.
sun's
So
down. That's pretty aggressive.
You can drink it in front of everybody. And our quarterback, Max Brown, will be joined shortly by the head coach, Lincoln Riley. But guys, the regular season comes to an end, a strange end in that everyone else is still playing this week. We sort of thought it would go on. It ended abruptly on Saturday, a tough day all around in the Coliseum.
Yeah, a bye week ending, and then you thought maybe we had a chance earlier in the season to get into this championship game and play mean football at the end of the year. It just hasn't broke that weight for the Trojans this year. A tough ride in these last 6, and it's been tough. You know, disappointing in the way we thought this thing was going to break out and the way it's gone. So a lot of things to get addressed and fixed and move forward as Trojans.
Anything surprise you that you saw on Saturday, Max?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the UCLA defense, even though we talked about how good they were, to really stop this Caleb Williams-led offense. I think the ground game, especially too, with some of the bright spots we'd seen there. But obviously, yeah, tale of two seasons, right? Strong first half and then a tough second half.
Well, USC's head coach interview is presented by I Trust Capital, the official crypto platform of the USC Trojans. We are joined now by the head coach, Lincoln Riley. The season finishes at 7-5. Coach, I'm curious, the last 48 hours, so the regular season ends. What do you do? Do you meet with players? Do you meet with coaches? Do you meet as a team? What do you do in this situation?
Yeah, we met. We met this afternoon. We gave the guys Sunday off, just a chance to get away a little bit, which I think was probably good for all of us. And so we're up here as a staff, had several recruits in on Sunday, which was great to connect with them. Our coaches are now out on the road recruiting. We've missed that a little bit with the bye week being so late, so a lot of the assistants are out on the staff right now. And yeah, I think we've had a lot going on here the last 48 hours, a lot of meetings with players, certainly starting to take a look ahead at one, at bowl prep, and then two, naturally with the defensive coordinator position open, certainly starting to look ahead to that, which that obviously is going to be a very important hire for our program. And then, yeah, I think you start to take stock of, this time of year with, with recruiting, getting ready to obviously kick heavily into gear with National Signing Day not too far away. Obviously, the transfer portal getting ready to open. A lot of roster moves that are going to be made are going to start to happen here in the next several weeks. And so, yeah, there's a lot to be done. It's like, your regular season ends one day, and then there's like you're right into so much more that's going to shape next year and the coming years, and that's been our focus here the last 48.
Coach, we talked about after the game a little bit, a long grinder of a 9-game series, a span where you guys had it, no time off, just had to just go to work, and it looked kind of like a team that maybe at the end things were starting to fall apart a little bit. What were your main takeaways from the game against UCLA?
Like I said, it's eerily similar to the Notre Dame game. 5 turnovers and that 5 turnovers, and then I thought their defensive line really dominated the game in terms of against our offensive line. To me that was the entire game. I felt like the team did a good job responding from a bad start. We were able to regain momentum. We got several stops in a row. The offense finally kind of got on track a little bit there at the end of the first half. And then we told the team coming out like that the beginning of the third quarter is going to be really telling. Like we've got some momentum right now. You guys did a good job regaining it after the slow start. Like this is where we got to go. And then, we kind of had a strange drive. There we get the fumble. They take it right back off the board. We have a perfect blitz called on the third down play, and we come out of coverage on the back at the very last second as we're sacking the quarterback, possibly even a sack fumble. And then we fumble offensively, I think, the very next play for a turnover touchdown. It's just like 14 points just like that. And then we didn't respond well after that. It kind of took the air out of our team, the start there at the third quarter, and which was obviously disappointing because there was still a ton of game left to play. And we certainly didn't respond. Did the culmination of 9 straight there, did the culmination of the high expectations within our walls and not winning some of those really close games show up there at the end? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Again, like I said after, there's no excuses for it. Just plain and simple. That's it's not our expectations, not what I'm about, it's not what this program's about. It simply wasn't good enough, wasn't good enough on Saturday. And after a great start to the season, starting 6-0, putting ourselves in that position to not take advantage of some of the opportunities that we missed throughout the second half of the season will eat at us. We'll never get those back, but it'll also heavily motivate us to make sure that we're not in that position again.
Coach, you mentioned the DC hire. It's obviously front of mind for you, front of mind for USC fans. You get the extra week to either prep for that or engage in that process. And I'm curious what that process looks like for you. Is it do you have a running list of defensive guys you're tracking? Is it leaning on your coaching relationships? Is it hiring outside help? How does that process look for you to come to a final decision?
A little bit of everything. I think you certainly always have lists. You certainly always have people in mind for various positions, as there's just going to be natural ebbs and flows that way. There's a lot of research that gets done at this point on some of these top tier prospects. Just again, whether it's in college, whether it's in the NFL, wherever it's at. This is USC. You're going to have a chance to go hire just about anybody that you want, and so. We certainly don't want to eliminate anyone, but we also want people that have a proven track record and people that have done this at a high level and have showed a consistent level of excellence. And so, and then I think also with that being here 2 years now, I think the other piece that we can't miss on is the fit, right? Like USC is a special place. It's also a very unique place, and for those of our fans or maybe our long-term, supporters here, people that have been so invested in this program, it's not like this everywhere else, right? Like this is a really, really unique and special situation, and that's what makes it great. But you also have to find the right fit. You got to find the right fit in players. You got to find the right fit in coaches, and certainly with this hire, their expertise, their ability to come in and impact our program, but certainly their fit and their desire to be part of what we're building here is a huge factor. And the good thing is we don't have to settle in any part of it. The reality is the relevance of this program is back. The year didn't finish the way we wanted, and still, 2 days later, you got a million things going on in the sports world, and one of the top stories still is about USC football, and that is where it should be. Now we got to change the narrative of the story. We want the story to be written in a different context, and we will. And part of the reason it's back because of the tremendous success that we had in year one, and so the opportunity to go hire a great one is there, and we're going to settle for nothing but the best.
You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. Coach, I was just sort of grinding over some numbers, comparing this year and last year, and two things stood out. One is a 23 turnover difference, right? Last year you were plus 21. This year you were minus 2. The other thing I was just sort of looking at, which I just sort of thought about in the second half, there was a lot of chasing points. Last year, it always felt like you were ahead. You take the ball first and score. You were a great first quarter team. The first quarter numbers weren't terrible, but there were a lot of coming from behind. And how much pressure did that put on your team? Again, on Saturday, we were right there at halftime, but still, you're playing uphill in so many of these games.
Yeah, I think it wears on you, especially when it's 9 straight weeks of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, and you add that again, the expectations of this team. When it didn't go our way, we didn't handle that well. Now we fought, we battled. We had a lot of those where we're down and we come back and we either win it or we have a chance to win it. Like, we battled. But yeah, when you consistently put yourself in that position where you got to come back and win, it's not going to happen all the time. Like, it's not going to happen. You've got to flip that to where, okay, if you got to come back and win a couple in a year or 2 or 3, yeah, okay, like most people do. But you got to put other teams in that hole more too. And you're right. I mean, we kind of constantly played with the pressure ourselves of having to come back. And I think the reality is as much as any team I've been around, we really struggled to play, and I know we talked about it some on this show throughout the year, we really struggled to play complementary ball where we strung it together for a long period of time. And that's obviously something that has to get better, and it's something that plagued us in the second half of the season because those big runs that we at times gave up, we weren't trading blows with teams and that putting teams in the hole as well. And that, just from a psychology standpoint, certainly does weigh on you. So, yeah, I mean, the turnover differential was big. I mean, yeah, I mean, and listen, it was a more challenging schedule this year. I mean, no question about it. It was a tremendous year for the league, a lot of really good teams. And we were, some of those close ones that we found a way to win in year one. We didn't win those in year two, some of them, and that's why we're sitting here. Again, you can go flip 4 or 5 plays in the year, and it's probably sitting here with the same record that we were sitting here with last year at this time, and it obviously feels a whole lot different. Now, the net result after a couple of years was still going to be there's going to be a long ways to go and a lot to grow with this program. No matter how many we won year one, no matter how many we won year two, if the sequence would have been flipped, everybody would be feeling great, like, oh, my God, they won 7 the first year, then they won 11 next year, and like, man, it feels so good. We were going to still have the same holes and same things to get better at no matter what, and that is part of the evolution of the program, and it's a jagged way to the top. It's not always this just nice, smooth, clean, perfect arc to the top of where you want to be, and that's why I've said many times, my desire to be here, my desire to get this thing right, my desire to be here for the long haul and not just when things go right or not just when we have a great first season. Like, I'm ready to be here through the peaks and the valleys to get it right, and we are going to get it right.
Coach, your quarterback, Caleb Williams, has some decisions to make, and I'm sure you're part of those conversations and what's going to happen with his career moving forward if, possibly come back, NFL, bowl game opportunities. I watched him run out of the tunnel, on Saturday night, and I thought, hey, maybe that might be the last time that we see Caleb Williams run out. What would you, if that's the last time, what was your takeaway from how it all went for him and how your relationship with him and how it's been and the mark he left at USC? Yeah, no, I mean he's had a really fun 2-year run here with us. Obviously helped us get this thing restarted, and has been a tremendous leader and a really good player for us. And I mean, I think anytime you come to school, you win a Heisman, you do some of those things. I mean, it certainly leaves an impact. And so, yeah, no, he's been tremendous. And whatever,
whatever he ultimately decides, his certainly, mark here in a short amount of time has been important. And we'll look back, I think, years from now and say that was the start of when all this great stuff that's getting ready to happens. We'll look back and say that was a part of it. Yep. And he was a part of it. A lot of these players that bought in here and fought their tail off for this program in the beginning were a part of it. And we'll obviously see how it unfolds. That's the nature of our jobs is you get used to that, right? You're not going to have the 10-year player. Yeah. And especially nowadays, it feels like they move in and out even faster. And so you do become used to it. But no, he's been a special one to coach, and we'll obviously see where it goes from here.
Coach, my first year here was 2013. It was the season after the 2012 team was the preseason #1 team in the country, and then they followed that up with a 7-5 season. And obviously every season's different, but going into that off season, I was a new freshman. It kind of goes one of two ways. You can have it lead to be a chip on your shoulder and you're pissed off that off season, or it can go a step further and it can be a snowball effect of negativity, to be honest. How do you approach this off season where it is the first side of it's chip on the shoulder, let's attack this thing, but it's not to the point where, guys start splintering off and guys aren't trusting the process? How do you approach that?
Well, it's going to be the first. I mean, we're gonna make sure that it's the first, because I think I think the pride in this program and the belief in this program of where we can go. The reality is, did the expectations weigh us down at times this year? Yes, but I still am never going to compromise the expectations. We just got to learn how to handle them better. We got to learn how to play better. We got to learn how to play together more and more consistent. But the expectations aren't going to change. And the second part of it is, as this has been going on and everybody sees what's happened on Saturdays on the surface, the other part of this roster is starting to build. And there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that you don't see yet on Saturdays that you're going to notice them here pretty quick. We didn't necessarily have that in year one. That's starting to happen, and we're getting ready to go put another class on top of that class. And the next year we're going to put another class on top of that class. And this thing's not just going to grow from, the guys you see on Saturday or maybe a portal guy here or there that we take, but the lower part is starting to rise up to the top too. And when you see kind of behind the scenes of things that are happening there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of excitement in the team meeting room today about the future of this, about getting ready for this bowl game, about this next month and what it can mean for our program. And the answer is we're going to have enough good people, players, and coaches in the room that we're only going to let it be option A.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Big month ahead for the USC football program. As Coach mentioned, National Signing Day coming up. A bowl game will get an announcement here soon. A defensive coordinator. Coach is working on that. Lots to talk about here on Trojans Live with Coach going forward. So thank you so much. Thank you all season, Coach, for taking your time with us. We really appreciate it. It's great to have you each week and your perspective and listen to our questions every now and then. Is not always the
even
easiest.
My questions. Thanks, Coach.
But we really appreciate it. Thank you, Coach. We have Max Miller's coming up next. Men's water polo, boy, they turned their season around. They won the MPSF tournament to make NCAAs this past weekend. Max Miller was the hero. He's next on Trojans Live.
Blue 42.
Give me the energy.
For the play of the day, that's easy. Fight on to victory with USC and fly on faster with ONT, the fastest and easiest airport experience in SoCal. Not to mention, Ontario International Airport has over 65 nonstop flights to more than 20 major destinations with less traffic coming in and out. In other words, getting here is a breeze, and so is following our Trojans anywhere the season takes them. Because let's be honest, faster is always better when it comes to your airport. Start planning your next journey today at SoCalSoEasy.com.
Covering all things SC.
Touchdown, USC!
It's Trojans Live on your home for Trojans football. AM 790 KABC.
Monster Energy is the official energy drink of USC. Unleash the beast. And our best in the game is brought to you by Old Dominion Freight Line, official freight carrier of USC Athletics, helping the world keep promises. Our best in the game for this week is Max Miller, and he earned it. He joins us now. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown. Max, good to have you on the show, man. 7 goals in the final.
What's that? That's not obviously a hat trick is 3. What do we got at 7?
Yeah, I don't know. You guys, in water polo, you can
make it up.
3.
I like you to make it up.
Double hat trick.
Yeah, double hat trick +1. A touchdown.
Hey,
there it is. There it is. Well, Max, this season we're so used to dominating in this sport, and it was going well, but not really in our context, right? And you guys really had to win this tournament. What was the pressure like on this team? You had to go up to Cal. You had to beat UCLA, obviously a rival number 1 team, Cal, in their own pool, and you get it done.
Yeah, it was a really fun weekend. It's been a tough season. We've had our backs against the walls most of the season, just kind of fighting for a breath of fresh air, I guess, and taking down UCLA, stopping their undefeated season, being the first to beat them this season felt really, really great in the semis. And then it's always fun to play Cal in the finals, especially at their home. We played them in the NCAA finals at Cal last year, so beating them with the same score was really nice. We lost last year, but it was good to beat them.
Yeah, no doubt, Max. Tell us about your role in the team, Max, and how you see. Obviously, we see a bunch of goals up there. Is that how you see yourself on the team?
My position is mainly the bigger, just like meathead, more players that they're more offensive minded.
Sean Cody at the pool.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
So that is usually my position on the. So.
You mentioned maybe finding something at UCLA game, or that being, a great moment in the season. Then it sounds like you compounded that into the Cal matchup as well. Did you guys find something in that UCLA match that you're carrying with you now, or is it something like where it's you always knew you could play to that level, and now you finally are?
It's been something that's coming for a while. We've been working on our camaraderie, on our teamwork as a unit. I've known this whole season what our team has been capable of, but it's just getting everyone to work as one unit has been the issue. But we've been working on it. We've been having the tough conversations and just trying to get as close as possible so we can fight for each other.
You're listening to Max Miller on Trojans Live, part of the MPSF Tournament Champions USC Men's Water Polo. Now you get to defend your own pool coming up. We're hosting NCAAs. Definitely wanted to make sure we were a part of that. What's the mentality of the team now? I mean, you must just be riding high with confidence. You're in your own pool. You're going to end up probably playing teams that you just beat. The whole squad's got to be feeling good.
It's a great feeling. We love to play at Uteng Zoo. We love defending our home. It was one of our goals at the beginning, and it was a rough season to start, but the main objective is to win the Natty in our pool. And for my class that came in here, we lost to UCLA my freshman year at home, and so to get a chance to potentially play them in the finals again and hopefully stick it to them is the best feeling.
It is. Have you ever been to I've been to a USC UCLA water polo national championship at Uteng Zoo that we won. And it was as good as any experience I've had since I've worked.
I heard the smack talk is unreal.
It's vicious. Don't bring your kids. Sean's girls are here tonight. Do not bring them to that. It is gnarly. It's like you have to separate. I mean, they're actually separated because fans are on each side, but it's best.
Can you hear anything in the water? Are you hearing this stuff? The heckling?
I mean, most of the time I'm underwater, so it's a little tough to hear, but after the game, my family members are always like, "Oh, I want to get in there and punch this guy because he was drowning you the whole game." But like, it's exciting.
Max,
sure.
take us through your 4 years at senior. Obviously, a Southern California guy, right? And you get to come to a school like USC with such tradition in water polo. What has it been like, and what these 4 years have been like for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, USC was always my number one. I've had so many of my family members go to USC. Both of my uncles played for water polo at USC. My great-grandfather also played water polo here, so I got that legacy. So so it had to be.
Did they all have to dye their hair blonde, or what's the? When did that even start? That was the thing when I was here. Does that date back decades?
It's the chlorine. It just dyes your hair blonde.
Oh, really?
It's the chlorine in the sun. Yeah.
Oh, I totally thought it was like a little like tradition where you all get together and dye each other's hair. I never knew that. Glad I asked. There's no way.
Coming from a dirty blonde guy himself.
There's no way. I feel like I guess I don't see UCLA water polo players that much, but no, it's good to know. And when you're scoring seven goals in a game, are you doing like, is it one thing that's working the whole game and you're just doubling down on that, or were you able to get it in different facets in that matchup?
You know, I think especially on Sunday, I just was in the right frame of mind, but I had my team there to support me, and that's really what it's been this season. And, you know, I scored a couple goals, but really it was like our defense and just everyone playing as a unit that got us that win.
You are a fifth-generation Trojan. That's what I saw in your bio. How I understand how far that goes back in your family. I'm curious how far it goes back, like, time-wise. So, like, 5 generations ago was what year? What was the graduating class of your great-great-grandparents?
I got to check on that,
There's so much pressure on Max Jr. whenever that happens.
Oh, I didn't know whether you were referring to yourself.
No.
Or this Max.
If he's not going to SC,
on my Maxes.
I don't know.
Have you ever had a family member that's gone to UCLA?
I've my grandpa and my sister. My sister just graduated from UCLA, so.
Oh man, is that rough at home?
It tears us apart.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it must go back to like World War II.
I'll need to check on the date.
You just said he's a meathead like me, man. Come on. It's hard to keep all these dates together in these big jumbled brains.
All right, NCAA tournament starts December 1st at Utangzu, USC against San Jose State. You guys played them yet this year?
We have not played them this year, but we've beat teams that they've played, so we're feeling pretty positive on that game. And
let me ask you one more. I just want to ask about Coach Pinta. He's one of our favorites. We've had him on. You know, again, we talked about this year sort of being a little unorthodox. You guys had to fight through some adversity. What was he like in that situation as a leader?
He's always cool-minded. I mean, except for the UCLA game, but he gets fired up sometimes. But it's just to get us to get some emotion going too. I mean, I've had him as a leader since my freshman year, and I've really respected his work. So he's always been just cool-minded and had his vision of what he wants our team to do and what he wants us to achieve. And you know, we've fallen short a couple of times, but we're still in there. So
you sure are, and you get a chance to defend our home pool again. Tickets are probably hard to come by. It's probably a get there early situation because it's not a huge venue. But boy, I really recommend it. Grow your mustache out. You have a little time to grow the mustache. Sean, maybe you could just shave the beard, and you'll be good to go. And cheer on Max and USC men's water polo. Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. All right, we are going to talk, do a little football roundtable next. We still have more guests to come. This is Trojans Live.
Cue up the band. Because Trojans Live is back exclusively on your home for Trojans football, AM 790 KABC.
Hey, Trojan fans, did you know the Ralph's app gives you easy access to weekly sales and personalized coupons? You can earn fuel points too. Check out the app today and save while you cheer us on to another great season. Ralph's, proud partner of USC Athletics, as is Monster Energy, the official energy drink
Look at that.
of USC. Unleash the beast. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown. Keely Yor joins us now. We're going to do a double dose of the football roundtable, and then we'll have Nika Agunbiade. Well, that was, I did that just so I could practice it, so I can maybe do it okay when she sits down. Nika Agunbiade. But we've got Keely Yor. I've got your name down, Keely. Any reflections? Did you learn anything new? I asked Max this question earlier. Anything new on Saturday? Anything that surprised you from that game?
No, I think it was kind of a broken record of what we knew about this team. I think in some ways it felt just from his statements maybe a little bit of a public wake-up call for head coach Lincoln Riley. I thought he was very candid in his post-game comments, and I think, I can understand where he's coming from, where there are a couple plays where you fix that and this team looks entirely different. This season looks different, but I do think that this was kind of the scars you have talked about, Sean, with him. The scars were kind of evident that things need to be rebuilt and things need to be helped out through the transfer portal and through recruiting and whatnot.
And I think you walk away, too, where it's not just a defensive thing, too. I think I walk away from that game thinking, what's the future like if that is Caleb Williams' last game? You look at the running game and the improvements that are needed offensive line-wise, and when it's more than just a couple factors, then it gets to really just like the identity of this program and the culture. And I think you really need to, assess where everything is at, even starting right now in terms of like the strength program and how those guys are showing up this month. And a lot of those younger guys that are going to have huge roles this offseason, this month ahead, and the probably 10 practices they're going to get. It's like a second spring ball. It's a big period to take advantage of.
Yeah, a lot of foundational things I think that need to be just questioned and looked at, and as Lincoln said, he feels like there's stuff there, but you got to address those things and you got to attack them this off season. To me, the season, it was two. We've talked about it. It was two halves. It was that first half where we're kind of waiting for a team that we thought they would be, and then a team in the second half that it felt like they. The expectations and just what they were going to turn into it weighed on him. It just the performances just kept adding up, and you could see by the end, by last Saturday, it just a team that would just couldn't hold up anymore, and just kind of that was it.
And that was my point, Keely, when I was sort of going over it earlier. I was looking at it, and they were down 14-0 to UCLA. They were down 24-6 to Notre Dame, down 17-0 to Arizona, down 22-7 to Oregon. There's all the pressure that goes into it. They never got to open up. You know what their biggest lead was in the final 7 games of the season? 10 points. They were up 10-0 on Cal.
Wow.
They were up a touchdown at a certain point on Arizona, and they were up a touchdown early on UW. They never got to open it up. They never got to relax.
And when I hear you say those numbers, sitting on my couch watching a lot of these games, you had to trust because you had Caleb Williams on your team to come back. When you don't have that luxury next year, that to me, that you got to flip the script on that. And you sense that even with the defense out there was like, can we get a stop a quarter? Because we know our offense is going to score a bunch of points, at least the first 2 months of the season. That's not going to be a luxury next year.
But part of the reason that the defense didn't force the turnovers, I think, is because the opponent was never in that pressure situation of having to chase you. So their quarterback's not thinking about forcing the ball or holding on to it for an extra second. They're just always comfortable sort of running their script. 23 turnovers different from one year to the next. Sprinkle those 23 turnovers over the last 8 games. You're going to win almost all of them if you could add 3 turnovers per game.
Yeah. And I think that's where Lincoln's coming from when he says, it's close, because they have been close in certain areas, but then they just lose it. It's interesting because, as you mentioned, I feel like the last time we saw a team kind of have to change their game plan coming into the game was Stanford. And obviously we know that was a huge route there, but it felt like you said, Jordan, they couldn't have their own game plan. It was more reacting to how the game evolved in the first quarter. So you want this team to come out confident, but like you mentioned, who will be the quarterback next season? I feel like that really dictates that as well.
Yeah, and I guess that in that sense, you're right. I totally agree with you, Max. That the offense, it wasn't. I think the story for most of the season was like, oh, the offense is great and the defense is holding them back. Sort of as the year went on, it was kind of like, this offense might not be quite as good as it was last year, or maybe the opponents are better, whatever it is, but it's still not maybe quite where they want it to be. But now, I mean, if you do lose Caleb Williams, that offense is sort of going to be the story anyway, going in once they hire a DC.
And it'll almost force you to play more traditional sense of football. Like even the way Lincoln's calling plays, you got the sense that he's like, man, I know I got the best player in college football back there. I got to get him a certain amount of throws. And maybe that, in some unique way takes away from the run game, where this offseason you're going to have to establish the run game and you're going to have to be better up front. And it's not going to be this just blanket of we have the best player in the world or the best player in college football to get us out of that. But obviously that the defense is question one, and the quarterback future, if Caleb is gone, is question number two.
Yeah, I do think that there should be a great feeling of confidence in this head coach's ability to replace talent at the quarterback position, though. That is 100%. Something that I have said. This idea that it's sort of this one player and you'll never get anyone like him. You may not get anyone like him, but this is a guy that replaced Baker Mayfield with Kyler Murray and then replaced him with Jalen Hurts. Like, he could do it. And ultimately had Caleb Williams. Like, he's done all that in 7 years as a head coach. So he's proven he can do it. Now he has to do it again. I mean, that's always the pressure on him. Fight on, Trojans, and fly on with ONT. Ontario International Airport is a proud sponsor of our USC Trojans. Visit SoCalSoEasy.com to book your journey through ONT today. All right, we're going to get into some of the future in our next football roundtable coming up on Trojans Live.
Taking you inside the huddle. All right. From the comfort of your car. It's Trojans Live on your home for Trojans football. AM 790 KABC.
To ask about.
When you've got good beer and good vibes, it's all Buena. Stone Buena Vesa Salt and Lime Lager is Baja-inspired, imported from San Diego, located near you at findoutstonebrewing.com. Oh, I thought you had a stone, but no, you just continue to show off the monster. Might have to break out the stones
round
here
table
soon.
if I had the stone.
Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC football. And don't wait until game time to plan for retirement. Open your free iTrust Capital account today and get your crypto IRA. iTrust Capital is the official cryptocurrency platform of the USC Trojans. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, Key truly your. And I had 3 different questions for you. Let's see if we can get through them. Which freshman's development is most important for next season? I'll tie this to a question that I wanted to ask Lincoln Riley. We didn't have enough time, but which anyone can start. Which freshman's development is most important to USC's next season?
I'm going to go with the freshman in the recruiting class.
Nope,
this year.
nope. Oh yes, I'm talking about freshmen. Going into their second year.
This last recruiting year, this last recruiting class with Lonnie, Noah, those guys. They need. I think those are the most important things. I mean, I think we saw that on Saturday. The effect of having an offensive line that where you kind of patchwork, kind of bringing in portal guys. I think that's a position. It's hard to bring that portal guy in to get that build that stability. I think that's something that kind of needs to come from the bottom up, and you need those guys to grow together, hang out together, be around each other, have that camaraderie, because that's a position I think that just needs that.
I'll go Malachi. I think young quarterback. There's a little bit of a void there. I mean, obviously we'll see what happens with Caleb, but then you go Miller, and then there's an age gap there in terms of if Malachi, is that number 3 guy. You need him to hit, and you can always count on it. Maybe getting into the portal there, but I think from building a culture standpoint, having a leader for those youngsters and developing that way, and just you look around the country. I think there was a couple true freshmen that had some success. Aiden Childs at Oregon State, Dante Moore at UCLA to some degree in that class. I think it's important that he hits for this program, and you're not relying on having to get into the portal.
Yeah, my first initial response was Alani Noah, especially because he has game experience under his belt. And Riley had talked about earlier in the season that he thought he was on a good trajectory, but he had some personal issues come up with his family, so that kind of hindered his development. But now that you have this offensive lineman with game experience, that's such a hard person to find in the portal, so definitely there. But to go a different route, I'd say Tackett Curtis. Yep. I feel like he had a fire hose of information and experience coming at him this season. Maybe this offseason and definitely in spring, he can take a minute and look back at what he did, get comfortable in whatever DC comes in now, and be a true in and out contributor for USC there.
I think that's a great statement too, because I just put myself back in my freshman mind, and just Max is just coming at you 1,000,000 miles an hour, and things are. And I don't even remember my freshman year how fast it was happening. I was just in there, I was playing football, and I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, or looking at the sticks, or situational awareness kind of stuff. I was just out there. That big jump from your freshman year, sophomore year, it's huge. I think mentally.
I'm fascinated to see what happens with Deuce Robinson too, in terms of his usage and position. He has the ability to be a difference maker outside.
I was headed to that group because I watched Taj and Brennan run out of the senior tunnel, and I was like, okay, so if you lose those 2 guys, you can go back to the portal, but to me, I think you really need, to your offensive point, you need that whole freshman group to be special, and we heard that they were, and maybe it's just a freshman year, but Zachariah was a really highly rated recruit. We saw it in the return game, but never really got to see it a ton on the receiver. Then you have Deuce. You saw Jacoby get out there, so there needs to be players in that group. Yeah, Makai. So can that group carry them next year? Because we've just gotten so spoiled at the receiver position. My next question to you guys, what's the number 1 spot that needs to be attacked in the transfer portal? So what do you think we don't have time to wait on development?
It's got to be the wide receiver. I think would go wide receiver position. I think you can bring in there someone kind of plug and play. You think of Jordan Addison. Yeah. He was our number 1 target, and you could see how much the offense changed. I mean, you had Caleb Williams still, but you lose that number 1 target where defenses have to really focus on somebody, and that opens up for everything. You plug somebody else in. I think you could really unlock a lot of those guys in the wide receiver position.
I think it's got to be offensive and defensive line. I know that's always the talking point, and I know a lot of frustration within the USC fan base of, hey, we need to have homegrown guys to really level up there. But any time in college football, if you can pluck one of those premier guys and add that, whether it's a difference maker or depth, we saw the impact that Bear had this season. That to me has got to be the where Lincoln's spending his time on the phones these first couple of weeks.
You got the hard job at the third one, man. We take the good ones, and you're like, oh.
All good. I to go a different route, I would say the secondary. You're losing Christian Roland Wallace, so once again that lockdown corner you're losing. But then does Kalen Bullock leave? Not sure. Max Williams we know is leaving. And just I don't feel like they were comfortable with the corners that they had. Yep. So I think just the whole secondary just needs to be refreshed in that sense.
Man, Mekhi Blackman was one of the most underrated players.
100%.
I mean, he was so good last year and was very difficult to replace. This one's going to have to be short, but what's the number 1 spot that needs to be addressed by the incoming freshmen? So as you're looking at where they're hitting in recruiting for high school players, what's the key there?
Well, I think my answer was offensive line, right? So I'll stick with that.
And I'll steal your answer, too. I think there's an opportunity for a true freshman receiver to come in and have an impact next year.
We've seen it, and that's sort of why I made the point about receivers earlier, is because, again, maybe we've been spoiled, but, Robert Woods came in and balled right away. Marquise Lee came in and balled right away. We have seen it.
It's easy to do so, too.
We've also seen, Michael Pittman Jr., who maybe took a little bit longer. Drake London, halfway through his first season, took off. So we've seen it both ways. So I'm not discounting anyone because they're not dominating from the first game. Mike Williams changed this program while you were here right away.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, to me, though, you can't get the ball to those guys if we can't block, and we're not going to have a running back or a quarterback that can run like Caleb Williams. I don't know if in the foreseeable future can escape like that. You're going to need some guys to block.
Secondary just for depth. That's what I'll say to go different.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we are going to have another interview here coming up. We will have a really accomplished diver, Nike Agunbiade. She is next on Trojans Live.
It's like getting a degree in Trojan athletics without the tuition. It's Trojans Live on your home for Trojans football, AM 790 KABC.
Back on Trojans Live, the Women's Spotlight is brought to you by Sprouts Farmers Market, open 7 days a week. Visit your neighborhood Sprouts for good-for-you groceries and great prices on the freshest produce. Nika Agunbiade joins us now. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown. Nika, we've had you on before, but Gia tells us it was on Zoom, so it's good to have you on in person. It feels like you have been around for a while. You're now a graduate student. You're such an accomplished diver. You had 2 more wins at the Trojan Invitational this past weekend. What are your goals? What's left to do here at USC?
So COVID came at a really great time for me because I would have graduated last year, and I would have had to like train like basically on my own. And so having this extra 5th year makes it really easy to continue my education and still train for the Olympics this summer. So that's the goal right now. We'll see what happens. But that's what we're training for.
The goal is literally going for the gold.
We hope so.
Take us through the season here. Where are we at in the season and in training and what's all that encompassing in the diving world?
So I'm a little bit on a different timeline than my teammates. I've been doing some international competitions. So I just came back from Pan Am's, and I only did platform there, which is my main event when I compete internationally. And so after I came back, I had to get all of my springboard dives back, which was an interesting journey, but it's got to happen for college season because you got to compete all 3 boards, or not everyone, but if you do platform, you have to do the other 2. So that's been rough, but Hong Ping gave me Arizona off, so that weekend I was taking some time off, rest my body just to get ready for Trojan invite so I can get my NCAA zone cut, and that will help me qualify for NC's next spring.
When you go to the Pan Ams, is that one of many steps to get qualified for the Olympics? Is it not anything to do with the Olympics? Like, what's that process? Are you already qualified for Olympics? How does that process work?
So it depends on the country, and it usually depends on how many divers each country has. For USA, you have to qualify to the Olympics through Olympic trials. You have to get top however many spots we have in each event. And the max number is 2. So you basically have to be top 2 in the country or top 1 in synchro in order to qualify for the Olympics. Pan Am's, it kind of helps. So you can qualify a spot for your country at Pan Am's, but you have to win the individual event. So this Pan Am's, we didn't have anyone win an individual event, so we didn't get another qualifying spot, but we already have a couple from Worlds in Japan. And so the next meet for getting more qualifying spots will be World Champs in Doha in February, I think.
You mentioned synchro. That's short for synchronized diving, right?
Yes.
Good job, Jordan.
I'm just fascinated by anything that's like synchronized. I mean, we all turn on the Olympics, and it's just, you see these new sports, and it's wild. How do you do that? How do you find a partner? How do you create that discipline where you're doing the same thing as another human being at the same time, which is already a tricky thing to do?
So basically, you just look around and you're like, hey. You have the same list as me. Do you want to try? That's how a lot of synchro pairings come about. Some have been doing it for a really long time, and so they just continue doing with it. I got really lucky. The person I'm doing synchro with right now, Katrina Young, she's amazing, 2-time Olympian. She went to Rio and Japan for Tokyo. And she was looking for a new place to train, and she was like looking around, and she ended up choosing Hong Ping. So I'm one of the lucky few who actually gets to train like all year round with my synchro partner, which has been great. It's been fun. She has a lot more energy than I do. So it's always good to have someone who has a good balance and helps you stay focused in the competition. She brings the energy up, I bring it back down so you don't get a little too crazy. It works out.
All right, take us through right now your toughest dive that you're doing, and then walk us through all that it entails, the motion in the air.
So the hardest dive in my list would be a back 3.5.
Okay.
Off 10 meter. And that one is my most recent dive I've learned. I have been doing it since 2021, so it doesn't seem like that, but I've been doing the rest of my list like for so long, and that one's I learned it just for Olympic trials. That was not great, but it happened.
Is it fearful? You have a little bit, even a little anxiety now as you think about it? It seems like a little, it could be like, I mean, I would be scared for my life up there, but
Oh yeah, it's definitely a dive. Like I do it first in my warm up. So I'm like, I'm done with it. My coach is like, do you want to do another? And I was like, no, I got to get to the rest of my list. I'm sorry. Like we got to finish the warm up. But 207 is just, it's a little bit more difficult because you're standing on 10 meters above the water and you can't see it. You're facing backwards, and then you have a blind entry.
Don't like this. I don't like this. So how many things are you? Where are you spinning?
3.5, right?
3.5.
3.5 rotations, and you start with back means you start facing away from the pool.
Away from the pool.
Yeah, hard pass.
Coming in, and you're coming in.
Yeah, so I basically, I have to, when I'm doing my rotations, I have to see something like in front of me on the tower to basically guess when to kick out and land in the water straight.
What the heck?
I remember I used to live at Cardinal Gardens, and then walking to the facility every day, you'd like pass the trampolines right there. I don't know if they're still there, but
They're
like
still there, yep.
Is the trampoline like where that all starts in terms of like when you first learn that, or do you not even touch the trampolines to learn that? I guess when does that come into play?
So when you're learning a new dive, you definitely want to first you start like just on the ground, just getting, especially for tower, since it doesn't move. So it's a lot more similar to gymnastics in a sense. Like you don't have to think about the rhythm of the board or like timing or that necessarily jumping. And so it's all the mechanics of just like your body and flipping. So you would start on the ground doing like a backflip. And then once you wanted to start like getting more rotations, getting used to it, you can go to tramp. Some people can just do doubles on tramp. I'm like actually terrified of landing on trampoline, so I don't do that.
Oh, you'd rather have the water.
You'd rather the water, the real thing.
I'd rather do the water. But we also have a belt system set up, and so our coach he'll strap us in, and then he'll pull us on the belt so we can do the back 3.5 before we get in the water and get used to the timing, the rotation, how to come out, and then in the water, we would do like basically like little steps of each dive. So you would start with a back 1.5 or a back dive.
Yeah, you got to see my back half. I got about a back half, Jordan.
All right, Nico. Well, we wish you luck on all that. Better you than us. Good luck the rest of the way. We can't wait to watch you pursue your Olympic dreams. Want the inside scoop on this game and all things Trojans? Be sure to sign up for the 3 Torches presented by Smart and Final. It's a free newsletter that'll hit your email inbox 3 times a week with game info, player insights, and more. Go to usctrojans.com/3torches and sign up. Back to wrap up Trojans Live next.
FUBOTV.com.
Covering the Trojans on the field.
Caleb keeps it, rolls right, steps up, steps back, steps forward.
Stop moving! Is damn near impossible. Luckily, they do it from behind the mic. It's Trojans Live on your home for Trojans football. AM 790 KABC.
One final segment of Trojans Live on a Monday night at the end of the regular season here. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, Keely Yor. We have a very quick one. Over-under is presented by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. Sean, over-under 2.5 plates for you for Thanksgiving on Thursday.
Oh, 2.5. Ooh,
I already had one at Friendsgiving.
That's a good line right there. Yeah, I'm gonna hopefully go under. Hopefully that's an under.
Goals. We'll see. Trojans Live is a production of USC Sports Properties and Playfly Sports. Our executive producer is Drew DeHart, producer Rick Cutler, also our engineer tonight. Thank you to everyone back at the studio. Thank you to everyone involved. We still have a couple more to go this season, so hang with us on YouTube and USCTrojans.com all season long. Jordan,
you're Jordan
Sean,
Moore.
Max,
I'm Keely.
Good night, everyone. Fight on.
You can't spell victorious without USC.
4th and 9. This is the ball game. Takes the snap, steps up in the pocket, throws for the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown, USC.
Trojans Live was presented by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast. Make sure to check back in next Monday night at 7 for more Trojans Live. Exclusively on your home for all things Trojan, AM 790 KABC. And follow us on the USC Trojan Media Network. Trojans Live is an exclusive presentation of Playfly Sports on AM 790 KABC and the USC Trojan Media Network.